This is the Break Live. Let's get right into it this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Samson.
Yeah.
Happy New Week.
It's a wonderful new week, and of course, it's surely going to be a productive one. As the stories are, over the weekend they kept moving there and there, and of course, we now have the story that Indigenes of Ibadan came together and said, look, the rift between the Oyo State governor and the Olubadan of Ibadan land has to come to an end. And the CCII, Central Council of Ibadan Indigenes, they had this conversation with both of them. And according to them, it has been put to rest for good.
Yeah, even though some persons are saying, are we sure that this entire issue, they've been able to resolve it? But then if the Indigenes say that...
Maybe this is just for optics.
It's possible. Yeah, it's actually possible, because at the end of the day, how did we even get to this point? Because initially, these two people were on very good terms, especially during the coronation and even after the coronation. So I think the situation became more intense after the former governor of Ekiti State, dropped that statement. Exactly. And then he said the governor is trying to remove Olubadan from office. And then maybe a lot of persons would not have believed him, maybe if not for the fact that there was a time, I think around last year, that I also mentioned that the state government received 50 billion naira, and at some point back and forth, and later the state government said, okay, we received 30 billion naira. 20 billion naira was not sent to us. So maybe that's why a lot of persons, believed him at that time. But then Olubadan himself, came out to say that nothing like that, is going on. Even Makinde debunked that himself. And then away from that, he moved to, okay, Olubadan is trying to impeach, Governor Seyi Makinde, and that was another problem, that people had to, deal with. Of course, the loyalists of the governor, the loyalists of Olubadan himself. And then something funny happened. And I think the speaker, Adebo Ogundoyin himself, mentioned that, they tried to pay him so he can start the impeachment process against the governor. But because, the money is not even, he can't take money to sell off, his conscience, and then he doesn't think the governor, did something that should warrant, impeachment process. And so he didn't take the money, because initially some person thought it was just a rumor, but then he confirmed that himself. And then away from that, we now move to, they are trying to impeach the speaker himself. So I think in the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of drama in Oyo State. And I think it's always like that, because I remember when the former governor, Ajimobi, was done with his 8 years, the state became very intense too, because he was done, he could not contest again, so people wanted to know who will come in, to take over from the governor. And I think the same thing is happening in your state as we speak now. So going back to the issue of, speaker now, at that point, we also heard that they were trying to impeach him, and then people even linked the situation to the fact that, the speaker visited the Olubadan recently. And because of that, some persons felt, okay, maybe that was when they discussed issues around, impeachment. But then the speaker said no. He just went there to get advice and consultation on his governorship ambition, because recently he declared his interest in actually contesting for the governorship position. So he said he basically went there to get consultation and advice. So he had nothing to do with the impeachment process. So at the end of the day, it makes sense to me that they've been able to put this to rest, to assure us. I think even the house, they'll be back to work this morning. Especially after the whole Indegenes, and then people, even the governor, try to mediate to see that things go back to normal. I think the whole issue got to this point, especially because of the whole coronation. Right. I think this man now, Sharaf Ali, mentioned at the time that the governor spent over 1.5 billion naira just for the coronation, that he and the others did not even attend. So it became more intense because of that, and maybe that's why some persons felt at the time that the governor and Olubadan are not in good terms because of the whole coronation and things like that. But at the end of the day, they've been able to solve it. They've been able to resolve the matter, and I think that's a fine place, really.
Well, this is just it's beyond what people are saying. I think before now they were both on opposing sides politically. I think that should be in 2015 or thereabout, when Governor Abiola Ajimobi became the first governor of Oyo State to win the second time in office. So that time, the current governor contested under the platform of SDP. And, the current Olubadan of Ibadan at that time was an Accord party. And, they had their, issues in the run into the election. And even after that, politically, after that, they were on the same side in the PDP. When Governor Seyi Makinde contested, some people would say seriously for the office of the governor. I think that was in 2019. Yes, they were on the same side, but I think a little issues, there are little issues about godfatherism and some other issues. Sometimes you say things that are, upset some people, and they might not really say a thing about it. So, you would begin to see that the momentum started building up even before now. And now, what really caused this issue is still politics, okay? The Olubadan of Ibadan land is not just, the Olubadan of Ibadan land. This man was a former senator. This man was a former governor of Oyo State. And of course, you could tell that at a point, he became what you would call an elder statesman in Oyo State. And, some people will go to him for consultations. Oh, I want to be governor, I want to be this, I want to be that. And that is still what happened with, the Speaker of Oyo State, Right Honorable Adebo Ogundoyi, who also, one way or the other, whether he asked to see him or the Olubadan called for him, the only thing we can say for a fact is that he went there to see the Olubadan of Ibadan. Whatever happened in there, one way or the other, got out in the wind, and people had the knowledge of what they discussed, or maybe not all of it. But when you have a team, especially in a situation where Governor Seyi Makinde is, where some people have even tagged him to be a partyless governor. They can't even tell which party he belongs to. Is he a member of the PDP? If he's a member of the PDP, he's not a member of the recognized faction of the PDP, because right now INEC recognizes that of Nyesom Wike. And some say, in fact, including Michael Ogunshina, who happens to be the publicity secretary of his own faction of the PDP in Oyo State, came out to say, look, there might be a chance they move to another political party to conduct the election. And then they'll be back in the PDP and then fight till the end, till they win this battle against the other faction of the PDP. So you might say the governor is under pressure, okay? Whatever happens in his camp right now will look and sound like suspicion. You would want to suspect anyone, that might undermine the chances of your candidate winning the elections. And some people are also saying, look, Governor Seyi Makinde mentioned that there will be no godfatherism in Oyo State. And, nobody should play godfather and, or godmother somehow. And that way, some people felt used and dumped by, this administration. That includes Honorable Mulikat Akande Adeola and some other people like that who felt like they contributed immensely to the election of Governor Seyi Makinde in the first time.
I watched a video where he said, I supported the governor, the governor betrayed me and things like that.
So you would want to, at least at that point, you would know that some people felt aggrieved that they were sidelined one way or the other. And this same person that came out to say there will be no godfatherism in Oyo State, that made him bench some people politically, and is now the same person that wants to anoint a candidate for the election, for the upcoming election. So what role does he want to play in that regard? At least there should be an interpretation of what role he wants to play. There has been insinuations around town about the governor will so announce his anointed candidate. I mean, that shows that this is godfatherism in plain sight. But as it stands now, the Olubadan of Ibadan land might just really have to a little bit step aside. Of course, I think over the weekend too, His Royal Highness Oba Ajibola came out, the Balogun of Ibadan land came out to say, look, the Olubadan has to separate politics from his royal stool, so as not to desecrate that stool somehow. But then some people have also had their fair share of, he has a role to play, fatherly role to all of them and the likes. But as it stands, has it really ended? I mean, the issues between the governor and the Olubadan of Ibadan land. I think that it might just be for the optics. Let's just give the people what they want to hear. But then this whole issue is still there somehow, because the election has not even come and gone. It's still around the corner. And until that is done, I think the issue will still remain.
Right. So I think some persons are even here to declare their interest, whether they want to contest or not. Because if I can remember, there are some names, if you check social media, they are trying
being thrown around.
Exactly, to say, okay, this person can actually contest, this one can contest. People now, they do their job just like, journalists would do. And then, so one thing I want to say, I think you mentioned something, and I would like to say that, we've seen it happen in Oyo State before, that if a governor should rule for 8 years, it doesn't mean that governor or that same party will produce the next governor. Right. Especially the case of Ajimobi, when he was done with 8 years.
He was the first governor to come back.
Yeah, and he said Kosheleri, that was his
1999, it was Lamade Shino who became governor at that time. After that, he lost his re-election bid, and there came, Senator Rashid Olubadan, who became governor after that.
Right.
And after him, someone else came. I think that was Christopher Adebayo Alao-Akala, who first had 11 months in office while his principal was gone, and then he came back, he contested. He wanted to come back again for a second term in office.
Win.
He lost. And, his brother, former governor, late Isiaka Abiola Ajimobi, Senator Isiaka Abiola Ajimobi, came on board. And at that time became the first person after, the new republic, I mean, the whole democratic dispensation, which was 1999 till now. He was the first governor to retain that seat.
Right.
And he did that. It was war, actually, because, it became so tense. The, political atmosphere became tense at that time. But eventually he won. And, after that, Governor Seyi Makinde is there. He also tried, and of course, he regained that seat. But who will come after Seyi Makinde is the big question. And even after that, those governors that have left, even, Governor Isiaka Abiola Ajimobi, who, did 2 terms in office, could not anoint a candidate. I mean, well, he anointed a candidate, but he did not win. That was Chief Bayo Adelabu, who is now the Minister of Power at that time. So these things will happen. But how do you shape it? Are we still looking at godfatherism in Oyo State politics? There used to be a time when, there were so many godfathers. There were leaders that if you truly want to be anything in Oyo State, you have to visit their houses one by one. It's not as easy as it is now when you can just say, oh, today I want to become so. And if you have the fund and you have the popularity, that you have, pure chance of doing it. That time, even as popular as you are, even if you have the money, you still will not be anything in Oyo State. I'll give you an instance. There was a founding member of the PDP, and they call him, I want to remember his name, Adeojo. I will remember his full name shortly. He wanted to be governor. In fact, he was a founding member of the PDP in Oyo State. Trust me, he did not become governor of Oyo State because there were powers that be at that time that said, look, you are not going anywhere. And, it happened.
Yeah, so, and I was speaking to the fact that you rule for 8 years does not determine that you produce the next governor. So we've seen it happen in states like Rivers State, of course, the Wike and the Fubara and quite a number of states too. But then Oyo State is actually a very peculiar state. And I think the politics...
Chief Yakini Adeojo.
Right, so yes. I wanted to say that the politics of Oyo State is a bit different, compared to other states. So politicians can tell us that there's no godfatherism. But then, is that what we are saying? Is that what is happening across the local government and things like that? And then majorly, I also want to point out the fact that at the end of the day, most persons are waiting for Governor Makinde to say, "Oh, this is the person that I'm anointing for the next election." Even Makinde himself, when he came into power in 2019, before the election, I remember that some smaller parties also joined the PDP to support him to say, "This is the person that we want," and then that was instrumental to him winning that election.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, APC was still strong in Oyo State at that time, because of the 8 years rule of Governor, Isiaka Abiola Ajimobi. And now let me talk about, his wife now, because I don't know how she got herself in the mix, but then she's in the mix now. When you read headlines, you will find her name even in the paragraphs. And then why do I say that? There was a time that the video circulated online that they said that she mentioned, she said quite a number of things. And at the end of the day, she said, oh, that was AI, that was not me. But then at the end of the day, people are now saying maybe she has, or maybe in a way, she's connected to this issue. But she has also come out to the point that people who are trying to involve my name in this are trying to, destroy my reputation. I have nothing to do with this. Yes, we are interested in contesting APC. We are interested in taking back the power, but I will never have anything to do with impeaching the governor. But at the end of the day, we'll get to find out in the next few weeks before the elections. And then I think some other persons have also come out to declare their intention. And going back to the issue of impeachment of the governor, do you know there's something about Governor Makinde, honestly, that I love to point out. He's always calm, even in the midst of chaos. I watched a video because people were expecting him to respond to the whole impeachment process. And he was saying that, okay, I have like a year, 1 month left before my tenure is over. That's if they don't impeach me. He just said that, he was very relaxed. So that's one thing about him that, even when his other, let me say, people who are not so comfortable with him and his administration, when they try to throw a jab, he will respond in a very subtle manner, very calm. Even in this whole situation, the governor is still calm. He said, well, that's if they don't impeach him before his tenure is over. So good luck to the people of Oyo State, honestly. And at the end of the day, I think the people know what they want. Right. Because Oyo State is the kind of state that when it comes to the governorship election, I have studied election, let me say the last 2 elections now. I think people come out en masse to vote,
Right.
because I see that across the local government, and I'm not sure about other states, but I've been able to monitor your state election. So at the end of the day, the vote of the people will speak. They will come out to vote for whoever they want to vote for. And then let's also not forget that the window is almost closing. So whoever is going to contest under the PDP, yes, the faction of the governor is yet to be recognized. And I think I mentioned, I think a few days ago, a few weeks ago on this table, that if care is not taken, some persons might decide to realign with the other faction if it's not so clear that they can contest. And we also have the contestant from the APC. Initially, people were even thinking, oh, it's going to be our minister of power. You know, initially, there was a time people were circulating that he resigned because he wants to contest. And then the man came out to say, no, I did not resign.
Some people are still saying it till this morning that there will be a likelihood he will declare his intention to run for office soon.
Especially because now, do you know, people are trying to accuse APC that they want to give out ticket without conducting real primaries. So APC now, looking at the body language of Nigerians, they won't allow that to happen. They want to look for a way to conduct proper primaries. So at the end of the day, whosoever we win, we become the flag bearer of the party.
Someone asked me a question yesterday. He said, did you notice that since someone within the APC declared his intention to run for office, this issue of the Minister of Darkness has been swept under the carpet, and nobody is talking about it anymore.
That's Nigeria's way.
So could it mean that it was sponsored?
It's
Just to maybe smear his image, and then someone else get a chance to come around?
It's actually possible, but one thing about the minister is that he has not come out to say whether he's not going to contest or not.
He hasn't mentioned that.
So we are not sure whether he's going to contest or not. So maybe when he declares his intention, then social media will be agog again.
Another thing I noticed is the fact that during that period when he was meant to resign from office as Minister of Power, Nigeria had serious issues when it comes to power. Virtually everywhere in the country, there's no power. Even the president mentioned it when he visited Plateau State and said, look, I'm going to leave in the next 10 minutes because even at the airport, you don't have electricity. And lo and behold, in the last few days, there has been a little bit of electricity here and there, and nobody's really talking about, if there is outage or not. Maybe it was a ploy for him to just wait, redeem your image first, let there be power, and then you can just say you want to. But, these are just permutations, combinations, likelihoods of what might likely happen and, all sort of things. But in politics, you just have to put 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 might not necessarily give you 4. Might give you something different. But because this is, a lot of people, imagine, someone told me about Barrister Sharafat Abiodun Ali, who declared his intention to run, and some people said, look, he was one of the few people that didn't even talk about becoming governor of Oyo State before now. And all of a sudden, scheming started. Some people probably pushed his name forward, and he was like, well, why not? I can do it. And then he started moving here and there. And yes, he has declared...
And there's the Yobi Amzatu of the Accord party.
On the other end, Accord.
Oyo State is going to be, I don't know.
What I see...
The drama.
What I see is that the margin will be so close because the votes block will be fragmented. Okay, we have different, we don't, if I may say, right now, the most popular candidates, some of them have not even said anything about contesting. I will mention names. Senator Teslim Kolawole Folari, who happens to be an household name in the PDP before he moved to the APC, is one of the few people in Oyo State left in the Oyo State politics. There are structures everywhere in Oyo State. Has not said PIM on if he wants to become governor or not. Chief Bayo Adelabu, the Minister of Power, who is one of the most popular candidates, even at the time when there was coalition against Isaac Abiola Ajimobi at that time, not to get an anointed candidate to replace him in office, he still had over 300,000 votes. That tells you how strong he was as a candidate in that election. Even when he moved to Accord Party, he did not do that badly because that party had no serious structure at that time. So there are still some serious candidates who might be the most popular of them all that have not even said anything about contesting or not. And we might just see a huge shift in what we are seeing. And then some people who are not even in the race at all will come back and say, look, we want to be a part of this. Don't forget that you mentioned, you have always said this, that there might be a likelihood that we have not seen what you call, the father of cross carpeting. What did you say? You said something about that. That before the election, might still see people moving from one political party. There might be shockers. Ibrahim Shekarau.
Just defected recently.
Just defected. He left the PDP, resigned from the PDP and joined even though it has not been announced, but then he is moving to the APC according to reports. That says a lot about the fact that there are still some people somewhere that are watching it. And until when that time frame is so close, And then you see them moving from, maybe when they feel like, I don't think there's redemption here, and I just need to move to another political party to achieve my aim, or maybe be able to contest in the next election.
I also see people leaving the APC to other parties.
Absolutely.
Why do I say that? Because recently I mentioned that some persons are actually complaining about the fact that in some states they are trying to give ticket to some persons without proper primaries, and then people are complaining, especially with the influx of some governors into the APC. Do you know that before these governors defected, there were other persons who were leaders in their state? So it has become an issue now, a big problem. I don't want to begin to mention names now.
Before
so
they
APC
come,
might have a huge problem.
There will
Exactly.
be negotiation. I think for Rabi Musa Kwankwa, so the reason he did not eventually move to the APC was because he could not reach agreement on what I get and what you get. Okay, I think it was 60-40. He wanted to take 60, and then the APC structure, existing structure, would take 40. And they were like, look, that's not possible, because this party, we own this platform. And if there's going to be any negotiation, it has to be 60 on our side and 40 on your side, because of what we know you are bringing to the table. And Rabi Musa Kwankwa, over time, has been able to churn out over 1 million votes in Kano. Back to back. He's been able to do it. And they know what he's bringing to the table. And if they could not reach an agreement, they're also looking at other people who might likely, bring something similar to the table. And that, for me, means that some people will join the APC, some people will leave the APC. It's going to be a give or take kind of thing. And then whoever gains more, definitely it will show on the
I'm certain of one thing. The balance of power will definitely tilt across the state.
Right.
And then good luck to those who are able to play the game better.
Well, good luck to them. And it's a convenient point to leave that topic this morning.